Rolling.
Rolling. Do you want to go turn? That's fine.
You want to turn it off?
No. Oh, good noise. Good morning.
Hi. How are you now?
It's not really morning for us. It's almost morning, but
Yeah. It's like early afternoon.
it's early afternoon. So yeah, we did our first podcast last night, and let's just say that was a little bit of a learning curve, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. Got the awkward butterflies out. It's still just ready to be more awkward. Let's go.
Yeah, but we did learn some things. So we're trying to figure out how to get all our camera information from all the different devices we're using to organize this. But we're gonna power through.
Yeah,
as they say. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work great.
Yeah, I mean we got the audio though.
We do have the audio,
so we should be solid.
And your setup here, I just want to congratulate again for the effort and what you're able to have accomplished here. This thing is legit.
Thanks, Brotato.
Feels good to be. The vehicles we rolled up in here wouldn't look like we knew what we're doing.
So. I disagree. The shit box is covered in blood from Halloween still. It's a real head turner.
Can we talk about that specifically? Is that when I was driving over here just now with you, we're driving why did we buy those things? Both of us are driving, we have way cooler stuff.
No, that thing brings me happiness.
Okay, that's a very valid.
We were talking about it, I think last camping trip, and it's like, so you've got, my daily drivers, the double cab 2012 Tacoma. It's, there's a million of them out there like it. It's got the front runner roof rack. It's like a full overland mobile. It's got it's
very normal Toyota Tacoma.
Yeah, it's got the skid plates, the sliders, it's kind of a basic bitch of sorts.
Yeah.
But when I get in it, I love it. It's a nice truck. But when I get in it, in comparison to driving the Mouse or driving the 4Runner, it just feels like it doesn't have a soul.
Oof.
There's just something about the old trucks that it's just kind of an adventure each time. It's like a choose your own adventure. You're not sure how this is going to end up.
I literally turned my truck on this morning going is it going to start? Because I've been having the computer issues. It's not that I trusted it for the last 8 months. I had 100% trust in it.
Yeah.
Had another computer issue. I'm like, every morning I'm like, is it just going to keep cranking or is it going to fire right up?
Yeah.
It's got two options.
Well, and it's like, you have the newer vehicles, and I mean, you've kind of gone through the ringer recently with your Beamer.
But, all vehicles, yes.
But there's that. But you're just Walfording things.
Yeah, it's fine.
But anyways, it's just with it, everything works fine, and it's quiet in there. It's just for some reason it's boring. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It just kind of works when you need it to.
But yeah.
Yeah, and I think about that a lot. As it's why are we interested or why do we find that intriguing to have a vehicle that might or might not work?
Yeah.
It's fun. I literally this morning when I was standing outside, I went to get something out of the truck and your neighbor just turned their car on and got on and just took off. And I'm like, most people don't even question whether their car will run.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Yeah.
It just runs.
Yeah.
And it just does what it needs to, and then that's
Well, I mean, I've got Toyotas, though, so they always run.
Sure. Wait, you say that, and then we're in the desert, and he is correct. The Mouse always started, but when he had the cold start issue, and he was cranking it for 20 minutes, I'm like, that battery's not...
It still needs a cold start injector, and I'm just
You haven't fixed it?
No, it's not cold here usually, and then I don't drive it when it's cold, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
And so what? If it takes 3 minutes to start and you guys laugh at me, I don't care.
3 minutes.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's a long time.
It's fine. But yeah. So what are we chatting about today?
I think we're just chatting about our shit boxes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, so what's on the agenda after the cleanup that we're gonna be doing?
Yeah, I don't typically think that far ahead. I wish I could and would more often. I mean, in my eyes, it's the cleanup and then it's Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So we've got our big Thanksgiving trip, which I guess that is the plan. But we've we've camped enough. We've done Thanksgiving enough. Like I'm not questioning. It's not like it's a big trip, even though we're going to be out there for 5 or 6 days. It's just kind of like just show up. And like the nice part about that trip specifically is there is nothing really planned other than just to hang out and have fun.
Yeah.
And like if my truck works enough to go on 1 or 2 rides, like that'd be enough for the whole week for me.
And then you're good.
Yeah, just because like there's plenty of vehicles to jump in and have fun with. Like I'm not. So like there's not like a stress of say going on a big trip, or like a Mojave Trail trip or something like that where you're like, oh, I got to go put a couple 100 miles on this thing in the dirt, like, and I have to because there's nothing between A and B. Yeah, it's like Mikey last year broke his Bronco within like a day and a half.
Yeah,
and probably only put 30, 40 miles on it.
Yeah, I remember I had to take him back to camp.
Yeah, but you're just right there. It's not even like it's far.
Well, so here that just reminds me. I think Ken posted up something on the forum on the podcast thread that we've got, but he was saying like, what's like, how do you pack for, let's say like a base camp style trip versus, or let's say how do you pack for like a day trip versus if we're doing like a big like point to point trip.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously with us, with our glamping, if you've got your cab over, I've got the motorhome, most of the stuff is already kind of in there, so you don't really need to worry about like a lot of it. But like truck related,
especially when you buy it from a grandpa, is it all set up for you?
Yeah. Dude, even the sippy cups.
It came with tinfoil and sippy cups. I was helping people who didn't have their camper as sorted as mine was. I just didn't have to sort it out.
You were so well prepared because the previous owner prepped it.
I'm going to call him and ask him, like, hey, can you help me set up for my camping trip next week?
Hey, bud, you got a prep sheet?
So this was fun. I actually did reach out to him and say thank you. I was like, dude, your camper was so nice. Like, here's a picture of my setup.
What
like,
a guy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The dude was
he stoked?
Yeah, he was like the nicest guy. He had this really cool. It's called the Golden Eagle. It's a Jeep.
Okay.
It's like a mid '80s Jeep, I believe, or mid '70s. I don't know, but it has this big Golden Eagle on the hood, and it's brown, and it was all clean, and he's been fixing it up. And the dude was rad. I was stoked.
You should get him out there for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
But so, as far as like the pre-runner, or crawler, the truck game. Like, do you put different stuff? Like, say we're doing Mojave Road, and it's going to be a 3-day extravaganza. Do you pack different things than if you're doing, like, a weekend trip with, like, for Thanksgiving, where we're just kind of doing, like, a base camp style trip? Do you have, like, different, parts or different, more fluids? Like, is your, like, what's your thought there?
I personally don't. And the reason being how I do it is, and I would assume the mouse is similar. Well, I have more cab space than you, but say we're doing a pre-runner trip in the trucks, and the one thing that I always take more or less in and out of my truck is the tools, which I wish, like, I was hanging out with Nick Eisenhower and we were testing a truck, and he has the full Boxo set. Like, it's $700 and it's like this full set of tools, everything in it that you basically need. Obviously you can add to it. There is space to add stuff to it, but he's like, yeah, I've pretty much only added like 2 things, like a large crescent wrench was like one of the things he had to add. But he's like, everything else was there. So for me, I was saying yesterday on the other podcast that like, I like to go out like every other weekend. So honestly, I don't typically unpack my tools. They mostly live in tool bags that I take from the truck. The garage is only 5 feet away, and I take them from the truck and I put them like right next to the workbench.
So do you have like for your trail tool, do you have like trail tools and then garage tools? Bro, what are you doing?
I know.
Why?
Because like I overpack.
Yeah, but so
I packed like 8 underwears to come for this weekend for 2 nights.
Hell,
with you. And I haven't changed.
You never know.
I haven't changed one yet.
You never know. We could get some bad chicken or something.
I cooked it.
But so, dude. Okay, so anyways. For me, I've got, the mouse, I've got the 4Runner, and then even the Tacoma. Each truck has its own tool set. And it's like, yeah, that's a lot of money in tools. and they're like the basic, the hammer, the sockets, the wrenches. I just have that in each truck, and then I don't even need to think about whether the tools are in there. Did I remember? Did I forget something in the garage?
Okay. What about the brake line kit? Where does that live?
So the brake line kit, like in the mouse,
I bring that up because we've used brake line kits multiple times on trip.
I have in the cab behind the B pillar. I've got a couple lengths of brake line that are zip tied to the back of the cage, and then I have the flare tool and the cutter in my tool bag that just lives in that.
Okay, that's something they live. Do you have a tool like a brake line kit in your garage, or do they just live in the truck?
I know, you know what? It's only in the mouse, but I mean, I figure if I need it at home, I can either, I can just grab it out of the truck. But for the Forerunner isn't very well, outfitted, if you will, because I just got it and haven't really taken it out other than like to King of the Hammers, and we've done a couple other trips, but I haven't really ran any like serious trails, but it still has the basic
remote stuff like King of the Night. Not to I'm bringing that up as remote because at King of the Hammers, there's 100,000 people out there. Someone's going to help you, right? Like you're not going to be stranded.
Well, but so
you can just walk to the next camp over.
So like this year at King of the Hammers, like I think Julian, the Johnson Valley Crawlers dude, he posted up. He was like, saying, hey, some so and so needs a part, and I ended up bringing out that full spare parts box that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously I'm bringing it out for myself, but like I have all these empty bays in the motorhome. It's not like it gets any different mileage putting an extra, 100 pounds worth of stuff. Yeah. And it worked out that that dude that needed the knuckle, we saved him a little bit. I don't even know if he ended up using it or what, but
the door hinge though.
That was so good.
That was too funny.
So
Elliot texts me and goes, or I text Elliot. I'm like, hey, do you have a door hinge? And he's like, is it like passenger? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I got one. I'll bring it out tomorrow.
No. So you had asked me. I was like on my way.
Oh, okay.
And I was already bringing out the parts bin for the dude that needed the knuckle. So I just like threw the whole action packer that I got. I got I bought a whole box of like front axle stuff from Down for Mobbing.
Yes.
And that was off of the form.
I picked those
off of the classifieds, but it came in this sweet action packer what happened to the lid, dude? Did you lose it? You never gave it to me.
No, I don't think it came with the lid.
Anyways. So I had the whole action packer, and I'm like going through it, and I was like, "Is this a freaking door hinge?" And I just was kind of like, "That's weird," and I just threw it back in there, like thinking,
like someone took the time to take the door hinge off and save it.
Like anytime you take doors off, don't you always leave it on the door?
Yes, that's
because then otherwise.
Okay, we're getting off topic. We're completely off topic at this point, but the point being is, so the brake line tool, this is where we got off topic, lives in this truck for you. So like for me, it's kind of the same thing though, because I have like right now I really only have one vehicle that I take off-roading in, but I will also have the Bronco and I will have the Ranger. All three vehicles essentially share the same parts. Mm-hmm. Like the other Ranger and the Bronco, when I get rid of the main Ranger and the Bronco will share the same hubs and differentials and all that kind of stuff, essentially. And so, like, I have specialty tools that stay in a bag that are kind of specific to both vehicles or just Ford in general. Mm-hmm. And then, like, I have a bag of wrenches, which that's one thing I wish were in each truck, is like a hammer and a bag of wrenches.
Yeah.
And a crescent wrench, which I can. It's not a problem.
Yeah. You probably have it in your garage anyway. Don't you have extra tools?
I do, but this is like the way I pack for a truck trip, like especially if it's a big long one and I've done like a real prep on the truck, which has been quite a while. But like every tool that I use to work on to prep the truck goes in my tool bag. Mm-hmm. Like if I used it to tighten anything, therefore I'm going to need that exact tool. Mm-hmm. The other thing I really like keeping, which I use in the garage and I use obviously off-road, is I think it's a Cobalt, and it's like a 150 piece Cobalt kit. Mm-hmm. And it has all the socket sizes, the extensions of this, the Allen wrenches. And the reason I like taking that one off road, besides like the bag type tools, like the Boxo kit, is like it's numbered, 6 millimeter through 12 millimeter. Like it's all like in a row, and if you didn't put it back because there's missing a slot for it. So like that's the easiest thing to do is lose tools mid trip.
Oh, that's funny you bring that up. Do you remember a certain Mojave road trip where your tool bag
Exploded.
it's exploded and you're just littering 3/4
Littering, it sounds like littering
7/8
sounds like I was very
wrenches?
purposeful.
No.
I was driving through the whoops section going, that's a loud noise.
Yeah.
It was my tool bag exploding.
And we graciously picked up, I think, all of them.
I didn't want to go backwards on the trail.
Well, yeah. So anyway, so the like for the hand tools, like each vehicle is going to have its like kind of specific things that are dedicated to that truck. Like mine for the spindle bolts, I have on the top cap. It's not just the bolt head because it's got the strike pad for the bump. So Max he water jetted me a little tool that's like its own little socket that has a 1/2 inch that you can like put it on
Very
a breaker bar.
specifically a tool.
So it's like I don't need it in the garage. I'm only gonna need it if I'm working on the truck. And it's like, okay, if the truck's coming apart, so what if I had to get into the
Okay, so here's a secondary question at this point now. I don't like leaving tools in my truck because my trucks don't live in the garage.
Okay.
Like I do live remote and it's relatively safe. But now that like your mouse always stayed in the garage before.
Yeah.
So like if I lost a big bag of tools, it'd be a pain in the ass to replace them all just for the fact of thinking about everything you have to go replace. So that's more or less why I don't want to keep the tools in the truck because it's like the annoyance of like going, well, like, oh, I bought this tool here. I bought that one off Amazon. I got this one there. And just like repurchasing everything would be more annoying than for me. That's just my thought on it.
Sure. Okay. And so what about like coolers? Do you just have like a dedicated cooler for like your trucks, like the Mouse, that Pelican cooler? I think it's a 35 quart or a 40 quart that just lives there. It doesn't move. Like I'll take it out if I need it, but like for the most part, that thing just sits there.
In the other Ranger, I didn't. In the newest Ranger, I realized how important that is. So I have a dedicated ice chest that lives in that truck and it stays in one spot. And it's got strap hold downs and that's where it goes. Like,
sure. Well, and like that thing's so clutch. So it's like I'll keep beers in that, and then the truck's usually closer to the campfire than walking back to the motorhome. And then a little pro tip for you family men out there: you want to keep a cooler in the bed of the truck so you don't need to go inside and wake up the family or disrupt the family.
It's a big thing.
At night when you're going to get a road soda. So just a little pro tip: if you have beers in the truck and the cooler's always in there, you're good.
So I've got, and I am trying to up my, maybe it's called camping utility game.
Okay.
Like that aspect of like, hey, it's worth me having a dedicated cooler built into the truck that never leaves. And again, that one's, say being a family man, like say your fridge in the camper for a big camping trip like Thanksgiving where you're cooking like meals every day, like actual meals, because we do like chili cook-off and all the other things. You're like, hey babe, let me put a 30-pack in the fridge.
No.
And then so you're already going to require to have a cooler anyways.
Yeah.
So you might as well just kind of utilize that cooler for specific things, So that's what I was doing now. I just picked up that Iceco cooler from Jesse, and that's going to be dedicated for the Bronco.
Okay.
Because like I have 2 Pelican coolers, and I got another one for a Christmas gift from the company, and that's the one that lives in the Ranger right now. I don't even know what the brand it is, but it's a nice, legit cooler. Then that one stays in the Ranger. I don't have too many trucks, but I don't even have to call it. It's Ranger 2.0. Whatever.
Do you have a cooler in the Ranger in the garage? So you're just like, when you're sobbing, you just reach back and grab a soda while you're sitting on jack stands? No, I'm joking.
That's gonna be the fridge.
Yeah.
You just plug the fridge in, have the truck on charge. Anyways,
Yeah.
so I am upping my game with the coolers, like where they go. Cause like before I had like more of a legit camping setup and I had two different coolers. I had two different Pelicans. One was like a big one, a 65 quart. And it was like huge. And it was like, it would live in the back of the Ranger on a big
Things are
trip.
so heavy though. Like
I
it
know.
weighs like 9,000 pounds.
But Leaf Springs love weight.
Yeah, true.
So I was kind of like utilizing that mentality. But what it was is a pain in the ass because you were never going to lift it out of the truck. It always had to live in the truck. And the trucks are relatively big and wide, and going into it was annoying, to say the least.
Sure.
So then I got a smaller one. It was the same size as this one. I think it's like 35 quart or something like that. But they're so thick as far as the width of them. Like they don't hold that much. And then when you go on a shorter camping trip, it's great and all, but I was like mixing and matching cooler sizes. So nothing was ever like, this is the one cooler that lives here. So this truck has that, which is nice. And then I was like, oh, that's like really nice. I want the Bronco to have the same thing, but with a fridge. Because the fridge is just, the ice side of it is annoying.
Sure.
Like it's not terrible, but like you
annoying.
get stuff wet
Yeah.
because it's got hot. And anyways.
Totally. But so I was just thinking, like in the mouse. So back to the tools situation, like I keep everything in a Pelican case, and I was thinking, like for you, if you got like a Pelican case or like one of those, I think what is it, Apache, the Harbor Freight ones that are like cheaper, they're lockable, and then you could keep them like you could put like a bike lock on it or something.
Yeah,
if
and
you
have
keep
it
it in the
mounted.
bed. But so something that I have, in addition to the Pelican case with tools in the back, is inside the truck, because if the back is all loaded up with gear, wood, whatever, it's a pain in the ass to get that Pelican case out. Like it's, two ratchet straps. It's obviously buried under a bunch of stuff. So I made what I call like my quick tools. That's like a couple screwdrivers, crescent wrench, some channel locks, various sockets that I can use for the impact wrench, like just put the light bar up. And that is underneath the, I have one on the driver's side and one on the passenger side. And it's like in one of those little dirt bag zip up like tool bags, like the really small ones. And so that's like, if somebody's like, hey, do you have this? Like I can just quickly get it out. Cause it's like, you're going to usually use, a screwdriver. You're not normally going to be using a voltmeter or, something of that nature. Sure. So that's just something kind of cool that I've enjoyed throughout the, decade plus of that truck. And it's like, you see something and you're like, oh, I'm going to add to it. So,
and I maybe we'll touch on that point right there. You said you enjoyed it. And I think that's an important, like, I was thinking about as we're speaking, it's like, I like, if I have to go and like have a hard mounted pack where all my tools are in the truck, and then I have to go into the truck every time and pull individual stuff out, I'm going to get annoyed.
Sure.
And I'm frustrated.
Sure.
And you're already typically in a frustrated situation.
Yeah.
So that's like, again, why I kind of like that Cobalt tool box thing. Everyone's seen them. They're the boxes that unfold out and it literally locks all your stuff in place. Like that gives me like it helps me like stay sane, if that makes sense. Like we're not sane, but what's the word I'm trying to use?
It's like
it's comforting. It's definitely comforting going,
you're like, oh,
this is
thank
here.
God
this is
that
here.
10 millimeters still there.
And then it's not in the dirt. It's not dirty. It's especially with grease and stuff, depending on what you're working on. Like it's organized. And it's like you're in a very unorganized kind of like slightly uncontrolled chaos. You know what I mean? You're controlled, but like you're uncontrolled at the same time. So it's nice having something that's like, I don't know. For me, it calms me down.
Sure.
So,
well, and so like I would say that each of like the tool bags and tool box, like as needed, things have kind of been added to it. And it's like, obviously you have a truck for so many years, you've taken it apart so many times, you have all the extra bolts, you have the extra bushings, the Heims, that you're just kind of like, these aren't good, but they're good enough if I need them as a spare.
At what point do you stop bringing it? Because I remember one time I had like 4 Heims, and I'm like, why would I have 4 Heims? Like 2 to give one away.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but I'm never going to have 2 fail at the same time.
Yeah. it's one of those things where it's like, but what difference does it make? You know, you have a few extra parts. Like, I mean, at a you don't want it to be too heavy and too cumbersome, but if it just lives in the truck, like,
Yeah.
anyway.
I'm not worried about weight ever. I'm more worried about like managing like where things are. And I always thought it would be a really cool thing for a while when we were doing our trips, everyone had an iPad on their dash. Like that seems to have gone away because like most of the trips we do, we know where we're going now.
Yeah,
So it doesn't really matter if we have an
yeah.
But like if you're going on a trip and you have an iPad on the dash, I always wanted to make an Excel file that like it was searchable and I could say, hey, like for like Ford Ranger guys, like fuel pump relay, it's in this part, it's in the glove box, it's in this part of the truck. Like
That'd be cool.
Just like everything's like, and you like, so anybody you're like looking it up, you can just Google like, where is this? Not Google, but you can search it on your Excel sheet. Like
there was somebody on the forum on like the what to pack trip thread. I think it was
Brandon
the
Brandon. I was gonna bring him up. Brandon Miller's great at, I'll call it overthinking, but putting organization side of it, because he puts a lot of effort and thought into how things are going to fit and feel.
Totally. No, I think is it Steve? Go Fast Bronco Steve, that works
GFB?
at Rugged. But he has like all his pit boxes and they're all labeled, and I think he has like sheets, like a spreadsheet, like maybe it's like laminated that he can like mark off what's in there. So that, you know, it obviously at a point, like how much effort are you going to put into it? Like some people just aren't technical and just don't want to deal with that. But you obviously want to have the basic tools, and you want to have like, if your truck has like, you know, you need to have something to pull the axles out. You need a special socket that's like, you know, a 46 millimeter. You want to make sure that you have that. So if you do need to pull it on the trail, you can get the damn thing off.
Yeah. And I had something like that when I converted all my stuff to 5/8 studs. None of us, our group, had 5/8 studs. So I ordered, not that I thought I would ever break them, but I ordered extra studs and lug nuts because I knew that I needed to manage that for myself because it's not something I could rely on. I broke a wheel in Pismo one time, and I used your spare studs off your spare tire rack.
Yeah. We hammered them out of the back.
And it was like, I could, and that one instance, and I guess this is where that conversation is kind of going, is like, how do you know what to pack? And it's from experience. But like I broke studs. I didn't have studs. Your truck had studs. And I was like, dang, like you can't do anything without studs. Like there's no fix. You can't just throw a random bolt in there.
Yeah.
And go drive the
That's
thing.
not going to work.
And it's like, so anyways, having that, again, foresight from a previous incident gave me foresight for the future when I was like upgrading my studs, going, no, I need to buy 5 extra just to have them for me.
Well, and I think that's like why this format and even like the thread on the forum is so rad, because it's like somebody can learn from, you know, our fuck up of not having it, or, you know, like our situation where we were down in Ocotillo for, was that a DR meet that we did down there? And we were on the run to Superstition, and he ran, I don't even know if you were on that trip.
Yeah, he was there for 3 minutes.
Yeah, and he drove, basically, he was following like a 12 car into this rain rut.
Yeah,
and
deleted.
Like, broke a tie rod, broke a Heim, and we ended up figuring out, like, you had the welding electrodes and we had jumper cables.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that you needed three batteries, not two.
We had 2, and we're just glowing this.
Yeah, it was just this like red hot little.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you just a couple batteries. I obviously I'm not that smart, but like I was just like, yeah, you just need power. Like that's power is enough. But what we really need is 36 volts.
Yeah,
and so you do that by running them in a series. Series, not a parallel. You do that in a series, and then therefore you get higher voltage. So you can obviously get 48 volts, and it just keeps going that direction. But 36 volts is kind of like the match. So you need 3 batteries and 2 jumper cables, 2 sets of jumper cables.
We should do a seminar on that. We get the some batteries out and just fire it up here in the.
And it's real easy to do, and maybe it'd be fun to actually practice it and figure out what's the best like welding rod, like what's the best because there's multiple, I'm not a welder by any means, but there's different varieties of welding rods and what welds best with this situation.
But we're like, I remember, so we had that trip was in like, I think 2012 or something. And, fast forward to when we did the Grand Canyon trip in 2013. Well, Jesse's Adventure Endeavors alignment cam popped out on the Explorer.
I've noticed. I've had those.
And so, yeah. But so we're like, I think was it in the Harris parking lot in Laughlin?
No, we welded it on top of the trail.
Well, he did it twice.
Oh, he did?
He welded, but anyways, I have this photo.
It was the Harris parking lot.
I have this photo of him wearing like 5 pairs of sunglasses, and it's like, hey, just put some of those like welding goggles. Like, you don't need a full shield, obviously that's big, but like have something.
And there's something else you could do too, is like if you buy a welder, and you can even go on Amazon and, like I said, buy those cheap ones, but like you just need the lens.
Yeah.
You can just take tape and put it around your face when you're welding. Like you don't need a lot other than just the lens. Like if you're, we're talking about Elliot's truck, the Mouse, which is tiny. It's a single cab Toyota. What year is it?
94.
Okay. So single cab 94 Toyota. And if everyone's been in one of those, they're teeny. Mm-hmm. Okay. So like, yeah, having a full face mask, even if it's the flat ones that comes with your Lincoln welder or whatever, like it's too big. Mm-hmm. It's just too big of a thing. So like you condense it down. I just need the lens.
Yeah.
And so,
well, they have like the goggles too that are,
it's even too big.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like if you just had the lens in some paper towel and stuck it somewhere, that's good enough.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to be shredding the gnar. No. Well, I mean, we've fixed some stuff on the trail though, and then
kept going
to party.
Yeah, the whole.
So anyway, so that's that thread, the what to pack thread has kind of some of the things we're talking about, and it's like each person, especially if they've been in the game for a number of years, is going to have that like, oh, you need to have this JB weld, and you need to have.
Here, let's put a pause on this.
Okay.
Sorry, I just noticed my camera's off.
Okay.
So 1 sec.
All right.
We're gonna pause right here.
Should I pause the recording?
Sure. Doesn't know what he's doing either.
All right, now we're on.
Okay, right. So yeah, we are.
We're back.
We're back. We're adjusting some things. So, as stated, this is brand new for us. This is our second podcast, running it on our own. My fourth podcast ever. Elliot's third now.
Yeah.
And we really don't know what we're doing, but I think we're doing okay at it. Whatever I think it looks professional, whether or not we sound interesting, and are talking about stuff anything else wants to talk. But I want to talk to you. We talk like this on a daily basis.
I've told you many times that I've got a great face for radio. So
so now let's film it.
Now, oh no, yeah. Anyway, so we were talking about the battery welding. And so, having like little tips and I don't want to say tips and tricks, but little things in your tool bag like that is kind of rad. I mean, obviously if you've got one of those like Ready welders or the Premier.
You're just
welder.
Leveling up at those levels.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously more ideal, but if most people have jumper cables. If one dude in the group's got the welding electrodes and a mask or whatever you're using, it gets you off the trail. It's a W.
Exactly, and it doesn't actually take that much battery power to weld.
No.
So like you can weld the 3 batteries, and it's not like it's going to drain your batteries. Now you're going to have to figure out how to jumpstart it. It doesn't.
Yeah, you can.
Batteries.
I saw something on YouTube about it, but it was like you can weld quite a bit and then still start your truck. So.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think that's a good point. Is don't. Exactly what we're talking about right now. Don't like think that, oh shoot, I have to have everything they just said, because that's not the case.
No, definitely not.
Everything we have is from in learning to weld and this, that, and the other. It's from experience by kind of having fails. And like you were saying yesterday, we love to celebrate the low light reel, and that low light reel is like, how did you get back? Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of watching a truck that shouldn't be sending it huge, breaking the truck, potentially breaking the dude's back. Like that's not entertainment for me. I get it gets views and clicks and stuff like that. I just personally have no interest in. I'm like, I don't want to encourage people to do that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so what we've been focusing on in general, and like with our social media or whatever, is like, how'd you fix the truck? Like, how did that sketchy, like, whoops situation, change your approach to how you did it later? Not to be a Boy Scout about it, but like, it's fun to correct poor actions, like, because
Yeah.
it's like the wise man had to be foolish at one point. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, to learn how to be wise. Like, it
The
doesn't.
the loose and lost shirt that he's got, that's like, it's like a truck upside down, and it's like you couldn't be old and wise if you're never young and dumb.
Yeah,
It's
and
spot
that's
on.
it's 100%, and it's a very accurate statement and thought. Like, and
Yeah.
again, like, you're gonna be young and dumb because that's literally like how it works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to the correct action is to try to learn from mistakes.
And then so we've been kind of talking about like what's in the truck, but so the another kind of facet to the, if you're doing a day trip or like a long distance trip, or you're towing it out or driving it out, you both both times you want to have a pretty good look over the truck. Obviously, if you're towing it out and you're doing a base camp trip at like Cal City, it's a little less important than if you're doing
Yeah,
like 500 miles with 10 trucks in a few days.
yeah.
Like, if you go out and break in Cal City and you load it onto a trailer, like, yeah, it sucks, but
Well, I'll use that example right there. Let me interject here for a second. I went camping last weekend for Halloween. Like, my focus on last week's camping trip, again, I'm going through some personal things these days, was to take my daughter trick or treating. So it was me and her camping, and the focus was I want to take her trick or treating the way like I want her to grow up. The truck had like very little to do with the weekend. Yeah, I towed it out. I think I drove it 20 miles. So we did one loop from camp to, it was right on the Mojave Trail. So we did one loop from camp to the megaphone to the dunes to back to camp. And like, I gave the truck a once over because like my daughter was going to be in it, but it was like, that's not loose. That's not loose. Wheel bearings aren't loose. Let's
yeah.
go for a rip. Now, again, if we're coming back to like, say we're doing the Mojave Trail and that is the sole vehicle that is taking me from my house to Laughlin and back, mostly off road. There's a lot more that goes into
Yeah.
like that thought process and like what to pack and how to manage that. But like, again, going for, I assumed I was going out for one run that
Hmm.
was going to be relatively short.
Sure.
Truck's good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you kind of give it the old slap on the fender, and
mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah,
powered by hopes and dreams.
yeah,
But at the same time, like, you've gone through the truck, you know
what to look for.
what to look for.
Yeah,
And like something that's solid that I learned, I think, way back in like the GFO race days, is like the paint pen on the bolts. That's a good trick. Then you can see if things have spun. And obviously that's not the only mode of prep. Don't just paint pen your bolts and then never check them. Like, obviously you still need to double check it, but that's something. When you pull off on the side of the trail and you're something doesn't feel right, and you're looking at the bolts, you can kind of see like, oh yeah, that thing's definitely not where it was when it left the garage. So
100%.
that's a good one. But yeah, I mean, I think that, like you said, depending on the mileage and the style of trip, that's going to kind of differentiate your level of prep. So
Yeah, and race teams do the same thing. Like, if a truck's done, call it a 200-mile race, they kind of go through it, but they're not sending the motor out
mhm,
after 200 miles.
sure.
Like, you don't have, there's different prep. Like, if you're going to go for the Baja 1000 and it's a 1,200-mile race, that's a full prep. But you can probably do the 250 and the Baja 400 like without a mega prep, if that makes sense. Like,
Hmm.
it's not, they're just two different animals, and that's what we're talking about here, is that it doesn't require the same amount of effort all the time.
Hmm.
and what to pack at the same time. Like, again, if it's a base camp trip, you don't need every tool. You're not going far from camp, and depending on what you're trying to do, is like, you don't need absolutely everything with you at
Hmm.
all times. It is for I like to be helpful. I love having extra bolts and things and stuff that I can share
Sure.
because I've always thought, and again, and this is comes back to like being part of a community and creating a community is like I want for me to be happy, I want everyone else around me to be happy. So if I can help support that and so they have a better day, I'm going to have a better day. Like these are vacations.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that gets out of like the mindset. Like this is the only way I like vacation is going to hang out with my friends in the desert. So I want to make sure everyone's having a good time. And if I can support that in any way by having extra stuff and sharing it, you know, like Heims or Uniballs or more specific parts, you're not going to go to an AutoZone and pick up.
Yeah.
Share. Like I remember we were in Glamis. It's Ryan. God, I'm so bad with names. I'm so terrible. Please forgive me, guys. So he needed a limit strap, and like my truck was broken. It's like, remember when I broke the coil? It was right after my ex rolled it. It was the next weekend, and the coil spring broke on the truck, and I was like not driving anymore. And he like needed a limit strap. I'm like, just take the one off the truck, man. It's yours. Like I don't need that. Like I'll get a new one later. Like that's yours. Go have a fun weekend. And it was great. He was stoked. I was stoked.
Yeah, I think he's saying something about that recently.
I know. It was for me though. It's like it means nothing to give. Like it's just so much better to like help, I guess.
Yeah.
Because again, like his weekend being in Glamis, miles from anything, he wasn't going to find a limit strap. Yeah, he probably could have found a piece of chain somewhere and bolted it. But no, my truck wasn't working. Here you go. Like I don't need it.
Sure.
But yeah, what to pack, I think, and again, the forum does help. It generates conversation. So like anybody listening here can be involved in that conversation. Not like you're just having to listen to us talk about what's best for your situation. You're talking what's the dude's name that with the F-150? You were just bringing him up. Is it Lance?
Yeah, there's Lance. He has an F-150.
He did the Alcon.
Yeah. That's Lance.
It's Lance. Okay, sorry. Please forgive
me. We're just
when it
name
comes
dropping here. Is that what we're supposed to be doing? We're just
these are heavy hitters.
I think it's 4 low Lance. He's a big Point Magoo 4x4 guy.
But he's done like the Alcon 5000. That's what it's called.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it's the Alcon 5. Basically, it's a run from like it's up to Alaska and back. You're packing a lot.
Yeah. Like his trip report and all that was gnarly.
You're packing dramatically differently than a 200-mile directional trip to Laughlin. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So just don't overthink it, but think about what you need for yourself. It would be my best interpretation of it to have. And I obviously typically don't always have exactly what I need. I borrow stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But so do you, and so does everyone else. Like it all, as long as your group community that you're with feel, has enough, like you're going to figure it out.
Sure.
That's extra zip ties, duct tape, whatever.
Well, and then obviously like when you're on a trip that you're doing a ton of miles, you need to drive the truck accordingly. Like you got to not just hammer the shit out of it versus if you're, going to Glamis for the weekend and you just want a katana or karate chop. I think katana's a sword.
I think, I don't know.
Anyways, but
if you want to break whoops, can you use that? Yeah. I'm going to break the whoops this weekend.
But
Dude, that's a new saying. Let's break the whoops.
It's terrible. But so you're basically, you obviously depending on the trip, like your driving style can also aid the care of your truck or something. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
no, you don't want to go out there. We always, I guess we used to call it like pulling a flaunt and just destroy go full flaunt and grenade the truck into a ditch 3 minutes after you got there. And that was from that one trip. You know?
You had a couple of times where we went into a couple Grand Canyons.
I've heard.
Yeah.
I think I was only there for that one.
Yeah. But now, like, we just leave it up to you. Like, we call it getting Walforded. Like, any truck you ride in or, like, look at, somehow it has a mechanical something.
Willis brought his Ford Ranger out, and we did one run in it in when I got in the truck ran fine until I
Yeah,
got in
truck
it.
was
And then
great.
we did one run in it and I was like, Elliot, you got to go ride in it. And it started pissing brake fluid
Mhm.
out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Got Walforded.
Walford did. It's a
fine.
thing.
But we, I don't know exactly what to pack. I mean, I'd say simple things for sure is like have a utility knife. Like the Leathermans are like seriously a great tool to always have in your truck.
Yeah, I've got
It's
one on the
I
roll cage.
used it right now to take the SD card out of my
There you
so I can
go.
put it in the
Yeah.
camera. Like it's just always nice having something like that that's kind of built into the truck,
Mhm.
and then having a normal toolkit, I would say. But like I was coming back to it, like I pretty much because I'm only typically working on vehicles and stuff, my toolkits just kind of go with wherever I'm at.
Mhm.
Like even if I brought just the diesel out, I would bring all my bags of tools with me in the diesel.
But so why like you've got to just get
I know.
you got to just have
I was thinking of the box set thing on the way here.
see the boxa thing would be sweet.
It's like
But
$700, and that's not
that's
crazy, but it's good.
but even if you just I mean, I'm sure you got extra tools in the garage laying around that you could like
Yeah.
make some slight tool bags.
But I want like I overpack as a person. So I can't just look at it and be like, I only need that.
Got it. Well, I don't know how to help you.
I,
And then so like obviously you need to bring, appropriate food and water and even bring more water than you think you
More.
need because, you can't live without water. You can go without food for a bit, but you need water. What is it, like three, I don't know, like a week or let's say 3
you
days.
need water.
You need water.
Because usually, especially with the truck situation, you're not thinking that it's going to go awry.
Mm-hmm.
And when it does, you're probably parched by the time you're like settled in that you're stuck there.
Sure. Well, and then
And
another.
I have an example of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When me and Mikey, we were in Ocotillo, we weren't far from camp.
My camera shut off.
Uh-oh. Give it a quick second, guys. Actually, no, we got this camera right here. We're gonna use that guy. It's still rolling.
Okay.
We got this little guy. Let's just bring this into the mix.
I think my battery died.
Okay, we'll start this one back up again. And I think we're just gonna call that. Is that good?
That's great.
It's not. Let's do that. Anyways, me and Mikey, we were on Ocotillo trip. It was Jake's trip,
Mhm.
the DR thank you trip,
Mhm.
and I was following some truck tracks, some 2-wheel truck tracks into the middle of the unknown, thinking that was a trail because most of everywhere in Ocotillo is fine. This one trail wasn't, and we went too far straight, and it got really wet and muddy, and we got stuck. Like we were buried. And this is a 4-wheel drive truck that's usually very, very capable. I had a winch on the truck. There was nowhere to winch. There was nowhere to go. We were stuck. The problem is no one else followed us and no one knew where we're at. And we had radio signal to an extent, but that was to an extent. Like I didn't know how to tell people where we were.
Mhm.
Like I was like I gave Tucker, who at the time was, a seaman, so he understood navigation. I gave him coordinates, but like I gave him coordinates that he doesn't recognize. Like I gave him backwards, I guess, and I don't know any better. Like I'm just like, it's my phone's telling me, figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
like you know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Point being is, me and Mikey were out there. I had the shovel. I mean, I had everything I needed besides Max Tracks at the time. Like I had everything I needed to get out of there, and I couldn't get out. But it was hot. We were tired, and we been drinking for the last 2 days straight. Like we were dehydrated, and by the time we realized we're stuck. Like there ain't no getting out. We're stuck. I was dehydrated,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh shit, like what am I gonna do? Like, but I remembered, smart person here, that I had like a little pack, and it had like 2 waters and 2 Gatorades in it, and it was a specialty pack. Never left the truck. It was mounted to the cage. And it didn't, obviously we weren't going to die out there, but like it helped dramatically at the time.
Oh yeah.
And say we were actually by myself, like say it was actually by myself, which is me and Mikey, and we're going to be out there for a long time. That would have been something that helped us for a long time.
Sure.
You would have rationed it properly. But
and then I was gonna say too, like even if you don't end up drinking the water, like hey, maybe your radiator needs it, maybe your buddy's radiator needs it. Like
Mhm.
it's good to have. Like obviously you don't need to bring like a 55-gallon drum of water, but like if you can have like I usually carry like a 5-gallon water jug in the mouse, like next to a jerry can of
Yeah.
gas, and then I just like to have a case of water that I just
Mhm.
keep in the truck, and
You just
it's
never know.
yeah,
Like,
it's a
and
good idea.
it happens. That story right there was basically it happens faster than you think, and it's the same thing with like things break fast.
Sure.
So it's like provide yourself with, um, what you think you need to get out
Hmm.
in most cases, and you're not going to have everything every time, but hopefully you have enough because you had some forethought into what to bring with you
Sure.
that you can figure something out.
Sure. I think so. Next time you go in some truck tracks, I think you got to bury a spare. I think that's the.
That was the next thing, but
I think
then
that's
that was forward only, and
yeah.
forward was more muddy.
Yeah, but I think that's the play. I mean, I've never done it. I've just read about it,
I've
but
seen it.
supposedly you can bury a spare, and then obviously you want to like hook the winch up to the tire before you bury it, because if you bury the tire and then you're like, oh shit, I gotta hook up the winch. You don't want to do that. But so, anyways,
I don't ever want to have to do that. So let's just hope that's not something I have to partake in. But we did actually at the tire tracks that we were following. There was a person stuck further than we were in a Jeep.
oh really?
Yeah, and then we pulled him out.
See,
Billy got him out. He was up on the ledge. We had like 4 straps
see,
hooked together.
it's just people helping people. That's what it's
Yeah,
all about. But anyway, so we could talk obviously a very long time
yeah.
about what to pack because it's a pretty extensive subject, but check it out on the forum. The thread
Yeah,
is
get involved.
literally called what to pack.
Yeah.
And
What are your stories?
we want to know, what you've cobbled together, whether it's like some popsicle sticks or bubble gum or you know
Egg in the radiators.
yeah
Ellie's been trying to
yeah
shoot that one down
no
for years.
I've done it, it worked. I've done it. You just do the egg whites though. You don't put the yolk in there.
What does the yolk do?
The yolk just cooked, and then
Oh,
when
does
we
it
were
taste good?
no, it was like 6 years old that was living in my radiator. But so yeah. Anyways, scope it out, and so uh, also scope out the thread that is the our podcast thread. For new topic ideas and what you guys want to hear about. And
And this won't always just be us. This right now, us starting this podcast is we've gone through technical difficulties like all morning today. I was crazy frustrated trying to get my computer updated, this, that, and the other. Just I can't even get the information from my iPhone onto my computer so I can put it onto the podcast. That's step one. We get here, both cameras shut off at 29 minutes.
mhm,
We're learning this, but the sooner we get this thing figured out, the more we can get guests on here
sure,
that like we want to talk to, we want to have, we want to learn about, because that's like a big part of the forum for me is like education.
totally.
So
Well, and then like so the plan that we've got is obviously we'll have us two, I don't know what you want to call us, couple of Muppets just here talking, but that's gonna be few and far between. We want to have like industry professionals on that know about all different facets of the off-road industry. Maybe even we'll have interesting folks that are maybe not even involved in the off-road industry that we can all just learn something from. Maybe just interesting people, and then we want to bring in like members of our forum and go through like the local legends builds where we've highlighted a lot of these build threads already in the few year or so that we've had the forum, and it's like all of these trucks have a story, and it's like, yeah, you can look at somebody's Instagram or you can even look through their build thread, but it's not going to have a dialogue back and forth like we can have here in this format. So
yeah, and there's no depth to it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, and I love the question why.
sure,
I was probably the annoying kid at 4 years old asking why all the time.
you still are.
I am. It's fine. But I truly appreciate like, well, why are you building this? And
Mhm.
that's why I ask people that are building the crazy expensive trucks, like why? Like,
Sure.
what are you doing with that truck that you need? And again, if the answer is because it's fun, good.
Yeah.
Like
Rad.
as long as you have the answer. But like I think sometimes it gets away from us of like we're chasing something that isn't for our own utility.
Sure.
So anyways, I just hope to have a bunch of people here on here and that can help educate me and give me new ideas and
Hmm.
give me new foresight of like, like I'd love to have Kevin Lance, sorry, not Kevin, on here to talk about the Alcon 5000 because like to me looking in on the highlight reel of Instagram, it looks like the best trip on the planet. Maybe it wasn't that much fun. Maybe it was just a lot of quiet driving.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. So I'd love to hear about something like that. That gives me
A new
insight.
perspective
Yeah, because
on
like
things. Yeah.
I've driven down the peninsula a couple times, and like yeah, like if you look at Baja California or Baja like as a peninsula, you're like, oh, I want to go drive down it. It's like there's a lot of very quiet hours where like nobody in the chase truck's talking to each other because like it's a 24-hour drive
Hmm.
of the same thing.
Hmm.
But it's rad, and you come home with it, like you love it. But anyways, my point being is I'd love to hear and give people the opportunity to tell their story as it is
Totally.
and just learn from it. So
Totally.
I know what I want to chase next when I have the free time to do it.
But yeah, so and like so we said the build threads, and then obviously like have tips and tricks, maybe even do like we were talking about like that welding.
Mm-hmm.
I called it a seminar, but I might be dating myself a little bit. But like
You know, seminar.
have something like that would be cool to kind of, I don't
Yeah.
know,
It's something we've
showcase.
used off
Yeah.
roading that's honestly saved the day.
Yeah.
So
And then also
share it.
too, like trip reports. I mean, obviously we've got our DMC group, or all of our buddies. It'd be cool to bring in some of those guys and talk about different trips where we can like have trips up on the screen so you can see the photos and we can kind of go through it and talk about it. But I mean, there's also like Rouse has done a ton of rad trips. It'd be awesome to have him
Yeah.
come on and see
One,
what he's got to
he's
say.
planned his trips one way, and Scott's done it one way.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to have both perspectives of like how are you or anybody planning your own trip to
Hmm.
go off roading, and like it's there's multiple ways to skin a cat, as they say. And
Yeah.
so and hopefully again, this just gives us the opportunity to talk to more people and learn.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll be have this up on YouTube, and we're gonna be looking at a couple of the other podcast formats platforms. So scope us out and get on the forum. Let us know what you think. Thanks
yeah,
for listening.
thank you guys.
Thanks,
Have a good
guys.
day.
Over and out.